Hello campers, bring your marshmallows and gather around. I've got some stories to tell you. This is the start of a new series I'd like to try on this channel of doing some spooky stories around our little campfire here. This background is just a placeholder though. I'm currently on a wait list to commission my own, so eventually it's gonna change, but we just have an Etsy background for right now. I'm considering this as sort of like a pilot episode to like a TV show, just to see what you guys think of it. And because this is kind of like a gauging how you guys feel kind of video, I do have some homework for you to complete at the end of this for me. Today I've compiled 2 stories to tell. One is an original story that I wrote, and then the other is like a summary of a scary TikTok that I saw. So your homework is to tell me which story you like better so that I can kind of get an idea of what type of stories you guys want to see here. I'm trying to decide if I should lean more into original stories for this or more into like true stories for this. My thought is that this series can kind of be for more original stories or more like dramatic scary stories, so it kind of feels like you're really telling scary stories around a campfire with a friend. Because let's be honest, like if you go camping and somebody says, "Tell me a scary story," you're not gonna like whip out your TikTok and be like, "Look at this." You're gonna make something up or tell them some silly scary story that you've heard before. And so that's kind of the vibe that I want this video to be. Kind of like a campy, scary, dramatic stories type of a series. In the future, I won't have this whole long intro here. This is just for the first episode because I want to tell you more about the series. And then I also have timestamps down below, so if you want to jump around and go straight to the stories and skip me yapping, you can always do that as well. But that is enough yapping for now. Let's go ahead and get into these stories. My reflection smiled at me. I used to love antique mirrors, and I've been collecting them for years. Yard sales, estate sales, antique shops, you name it. Beautiful decorative mirrors can be found just about anywhere. But when I moved into my new house, I finally found the perfect place for my collection. At the end of the hallway outside my room stands a large window that's perfectly positioned to capture the bright afternoon light. When the sun beams in through the window, it creates a beautiful warm column of light down the hall. I tried putting my mirrors there, and they refracted the light, creating a beautiful show. Between every mirror, the light bounced, showering the hallway in rainbows and a delicate glow. This naturally only fueled the need for more, so I was always on the hunt for new mirrors and a bargain. That was until I never bought another mirror again. One night, I got up to get some water in the middle of the night. You know the time, right around 3 a.m. I cracked open my bedroom door and was greeted with the familiar sight of my mirrors. They looked the same as always, but something just felt off. It stopped me in my tracks, making me reevaluate every mirror until I noticed it. To my right was a rather large French-made mirror from around the 1740s. It was a rather rare and exciting find for me when I first got it, but now, looking into it, it felt like it was alive somehow. The air around it felt charged, like static electricity on your skin. All the hairs on my body were standing. At first, I wanted to laugh, because it's just a mirror. As I gazed into it, only my reflection looked back. There's no reason to feel so filled with dread over a simple mirror, but then, the reflection shuddered. I quickly blinked, thinking it was a trick of the eyes. There's no way my reflection had moved so suddenly. I must have been tired or just seeing things. When I opened my eyes, I shook my head and even chuckled. Because nothing had changed. It was just plain old me staring back. This is what I get for waking up at 3 a.m., I thought to myself, gazing back at my tired eyes and dark circles. I almost didn't notice it when the corner of my mouth quirked upwards. It lasted for only a second, and it was gone in a flash, but I had caught it. I'd seen it out of the corner of my vision, and it had me frozen in place with a chill. What was that? Nothing. It's nothing, I reassured myself, finally peeling my attention away from the mirror and hurrying off to the kitchen. I'm just tired and seeing things, that's all. I quickly grabbed my water and hurried back to my room. As I passed by the mirror, I inspected it again, but all seemed normal, so it was only further proof that I was right. Nothing had really happened. I was just seeing things. However, then I started seeing something around my house every day. It was like a dark shadow lingering in the corner of my vision, but as soon as I looked in that direction, it would just disappear. In the kitchen, garage, bathroom, bedroom, everywhere I'd go, I'd see a dark mass, but I could never see it in full. It's like it didn't want to be fully seen. My mother is a religious woman, so after a few days, I decided to confide in her. I thought I was going crazy, and I just needed someone, anyone to believe me. Luckily, she never doubted me for a second. That same day, she called her local priest, and together they decided to bless my home. Maybe something strange was hanging around my home for some reason, and this could be a good way to kick it out. He came the next day and wandered around, spreading holy incense and prayers all throughout the house. But I noticed he oddly lingered in the hallway of mirrors. It's like he could feel something there too, but he never admitted it. You know, it's bad to place mirrors across from each other. It could create a portal, were the only words he said to me, and I didn't really know what it meant. Once he left, the energy in the space felt noticeably lighter, like some sort of cloud had been lifted. I was thankful and glad to begin living a normal life again without seeing things out of the corner of my eye. This peace continued for a few weeks, but it unfortunately didn't last. A few weeks later, I woke up again and got up to go to the kitchen. But this time, when I felt something was off, I saw it immediately too. Not just the old French mirror, but every mirror now had a shadow figure standing inside it. I couldn't see their eyes, but I felt their gaze on me, heavy and oppressive, like the energy I had felt last time. I screamed and slammed the door behind me, but before I could even process what I'd just seen, my door handle began to twist and jiggle, as if someone were on the other side shaking it. "It's okay, sweetie," my mother's voice cooed from the hallway. "Mom?" I whispered in disbelief. No, something seemed odd. Her voice, it wasn't normal. It's like a copy or a mimic of her voice that's almost her, but not quite perfect. "Let me in," she sang sweetly. "Everything will be okay." "No, go away!" I shouted back. "Oh, come out and see Mommy." The banging on the door and rattling of the handle continued, but thankfully the lock held in place. I slowly backed away, before jumping into bed and hiding under the covers. I'm not sure how long the sound went on for. It seemed like it lasted all night. But suddenly, I was waking up the next morning, not even sure how I had fallen asleep. Was it all a dream? I asked myself. My hands were still shaking from the fright. "Maybe," I whispered, honestly hoping it was, as I cautiously approached my bedroom door and peeked outside. No, definitely not a dream, I decided in an instant when I saw the hallway left in complete shambles. Every single mirror was off the wall, slumped down on the floor. Broken glass and pieces of frames were strewn everywhere. It was as if a tornado had suddenly appeared, going only down my hallway and leaving everything else untouched. I spent most of the morning cleaning it up while nervously glancing over my shoulder. The energy in my home didn't feel heavy or dangerous, but I still couldn't shake the fear I felt or the paranoia of being watched. By the end of the day, the only mirror left in my house was the one in my bathroom. It's one of those flat modern mirrors that are mounted to the walls, and it came with the house when it was built. So I hoped it would be a safer bet than the antique ones. Things went back to normal, and I finally began to calm down, thinking the nightmare of that night was finally far behind me. I went back to my normal routines, and I even ventured outside of my room at night. Nothing strange happened, and I felt like I was finally in the clear. Months passed, and I no longer thought about that awful night. Tonight I was in the bathroom, brushing my teeth while getting ready for bed. I was staring into the mirror, the last one left standing in my house after that nightmare. But then I suddenly saw something that sent a chill down my spine. My head in my reflection tilted to the side as I was standing still. The Shapeshifter. Back in the 90s when Ashley was 7, her family lived just outside of Chicago, and her parents would frequently go out on Friday nights, leaving her and her sister with the babysitter. One night at dusk, when the sun was almost set, she looked out towards the nearby lake and sees the Black Panther jump over their fence. She goes in to clarify that she knows this was not just a normal cat, because they have a cat, and this creature was easily 6 or 7 times larger than the average house cat. It's huge. Amazed by what she was seeing, she started calling for her babysitter to come to the kitchen and see the Black Panther in their backyard. But the babysitter is busy with her younger sister and takes a while to get there. And while Ashley is waiting, the panther looks at her, and they make eye contact. It's at this moment that despite the rest of it being jet black, she realizes it has a white patch of fur on the side of its head, trailing just behind one eye. They stare at each other for a long moment before the babysitter finally makes it into the kitchen. And at this moment, the panther runs full sprint into the lake before it can be seen by anyone other than Ashley. The babysitter tells her it's nothing, it's just her imagination and it had to be a house cat, but Ashley is sure of what she saw. She looked at this panther for a long time and knows very clearly it's too big to be a cat. However, it was gone at this point, so there was nothing she could really do to prove that it was a panther. They forget about it and move on with the night. A few hours later, it's around 11 p.m., and she's in bed when she suddenly hears the doorbell ring. Curious about who this could be because she knows her parents won't get back home until later, she goes to the top of the stairs to see the babysitter answering the door. Suddenly, she lets a man into the house, and Ashley notes he's wearing all black and his skin appears very pale. He explains to the babysitter that he's a traveler who got lost and he needed to use their phone. Since it was the 90s, cell phones weren't really easily accessible at this point, so it wasn't really a strange request. He just wanted to use their house phone. And strangely, the babysitter actually allows this guy in. Like, she allows a stranger into their house to use the phone, with just her and the kids she's babysitting there. And when he's done with his call, Ashley says he turns to leave, but then he looks up the stairs at her because she's still sitting on the top step watching everything going on. When they made eye contact, she realized that he has a white patch of hair exactly where she'd seen the panther had one. But then he turned to the babysitter and said, "Thank you for your help. It's really easy to get lost in the shadows." And then, with those parting words, he finally leaves. Nothing happened. He just used the phone and left. Ashley goes back to bed, but she can't get the man and the panther out of her head. Her brain is running a mile a minute trying to figure out what she saw, so when her parents finally got home, she ran to them and told them everything. Of course, they chalked the panther sighting up to an overactive imagination, and they also thought she had just seen a cat, but when she told them about the guy, they were absolutely livid. As they should be, honestly. Like, that babysitter was wild for letting him in. I guess true crime wasn't as big back then as it is now. They, of course, fired the babysitter, and that's where the story ends. She never saw the panther or the man again. After her TikTok about this blew up, people sent in their similar stories about seeing panthers in the same area of Illinois, and that's when she learned a crazy historical legend. A man who emailed her his own account about seeing the panther told her about his neighbor, who was a historian and knew a lot about the lore of the area. The historian said there's a legend of a shapeshifter that has roamed these lands for centuries, and it's taken various forms such as a panther, a wolf, a man, but all mysteriously disappear into the water once it's spotted. He also went on to say the shapeshifter was believed to be a protector or a guardian of the land and shows up in times where great change is coming. Long before the land was settled and modern civilization began, indigenous tribes lived on the lands and were well aware of the shapeshifter. They viewed it as a spirit of the earth and gave it the due respect it deserved. But the settlers, on the other hand, ignored all the warnings. Of course they did. And they built too close to sacred lands, so strange events and sightings began happening to them. Now, it's believed the panther shows up to remind those who live there to honor the land and tread carefully on the land they live and build on. The man who sent the email with his story and informing her about the legend isn't sure what to make of it, but feels their stories are connected. They both saw panthers disappear into a lake in the same general area of Illinois. And let's be real, why are panthers disappearing into lakes? That alone is a strange enough coincidence to be I think these stories are connected. I'm not sure what to make of this story either, but it's very interesting and creepy for sure. I personally love learning history and legends of different areas, so I found the info at the end to be very interesting, and if everything is true, the stories do definitely sound very similar and related, in my opinion. What do you think? House cat or mystical shapeshifter? Let me know. And with that, our final story is complete and this video is done. Again, don't forget your homework. Let me know which type of story you enjoyed the most, something original and spooky, or a supposedly real and very intriguing historical sighting. I personally enjoy both for different reasons, but I'm trying to figure out what types of stories will fit our campfire vibe the best. If you like both, maybe I'll choose one type for our campfire series and then start another series for the other type of stories. Also, the link to Ashley's TikTok is below, so please go check it out and listen to her original story if you're intrigued. I linked to her original story and then a follow-up TikTok that talked about the guy who emailed her with his story and the information. And as always, please remember to do the YouTube-y things, like, comment, and subscribe for me. And I also just opened a Discord community, so if you're interested in a cozy community to chat in, please feel free to check it out. That link should be down below as well. I hope you enjoyed your time at the campfire, and I hope to see you again next time. Thanks so much for watching. Y'all have a great day. Bye bye.